creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Every thought becomes so clear. From sea tunes and bubbling streams, waking up to brand new dreams. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper.
Good morning. It is Saturday. It's Coffee Chats with Melissa in Houston. I am excited to be here, but I'm frozen, guys. It's like 54 degrees in the Pacific Northwest. I am in the top left side of the country in the US, and I'm frozen today. It is gloomy outside, which is one of my favorite settings in the Pacific Northwest. But man, I didn't expect to need a jacket in June, almost July. 4th of July is just around the corner, and it's not even 60 degrees outside. So that's my morning. Ken, welcome. I see his comment here that he invited 1 million of his friends, which I always am grateful for. It's been a busy week. I mean, I'll be honest, when you run a motorcycle shop during summertime, it just is a busy life in general. But I have so many things going on that it has just been nonstop. Bill, welcome. I cannot believe you're awake. Happy belated birthday. I was working, but I wanted to congratulate you on your book. I just saw the link this morning. So good job. So this today, right? I wanted to tackle this topic. I've been thinking about data. It's something I use a lot. I'm always looking at numbers, whether it's at work at the motorcycle shop, whether it's in sales the marketing, seeing who we're reaching. I've always been in charge of data and in charge of the numbers, in charge of trying to discern patterns and what's successful and what's not. And so really, it was an easy evolution when I started thinking about my document, then act mindset and strategy to just keep it going, right? Because you can't just document and act. You always have to assess and adjust. And really, that's fine. But I didn't like the way the acronym was laying out for me. And so I came up with this term, data, right? It's simple. We use it often. But I really wanted to break it down and like, what does that mean? And so I have been diving in the background, trying to figure out, Melissa, where are we going with this? How are we going to sell it, package it, make it something that is consumable data for others to understand and assess and work on, right? And so here we are. That's what we're doing today. So good morning. If you're here, that's what we're diving into. I am streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Highly recommend you go subscribe on YouTube. It seems to be the most successful platform in making sure that the gremlins don't take over our time. And so if you lose any access to this, please know that the playback is on YouTube. You can always jump over there if you feel like you're going to get better quality. Now, that said, LinkedIn is my favorite place to play. This is where the show began. It was an audio event. A few years back. It's what they offered us. It was very much like a chat room. Oh man, do you guys remember the phone lines where 50 million people could all speak at once? And it felt like that a bit too, but we had these cool little bubbles where all of my friends had their own little circles on the screen, and I got to listen to you guys and you got to listen to me. And so that's where it began. Years ago, we all hung out and we would get 50, 60 people in an audio event, no problem, and just dive into topics and rotate the stage. And so Coffee Chats has evolved from that to a shared space where I was interviewing a lot of people online, connecting you to my network, teaching you who they were, allowing you to get to know them and ask questions and have fun, asking your favorite cereals and Sesame Street characters, which you should drop in the comments. Obviously, it's Saturday morning. I need to know these things. But eventually, after a few breaks and some shifts within my own personal life, I decided to just kind of go it solo and use this as a teaching moment. And now it's going to evolve back. I will bring others back on the stage, but I've really enjoyed this evolution. And it was LinkedIn's fault that we became a video streaming option because I wasn't going to. I've never wanted to be on video and have you stare at me while I teach you things. I don't mind educating, but I don't want to be the person stared at for 2 hours. And I think it takes away from my ability to focus when I have to focus on the person in front of me. I'd rather focus on the notes I'm taking, using the different highlighters to highlight different portions and why it means something. I'm that nerd. So that is why you don't see me. A lot of people had the question and I just wanted to address it. I feel like this is the best way to keep that audio vibe alive while still being able to give you guys a lesson, use the screen as marketing to give you data, to give you that billboard effect, to be able to teach you, show you, let you see, right? Because I'm a visual learner and some of my listeners are too. Good morning to Sean who just came, David Pushkin, good morning, Lisa, Feverick, Chris, Charles Graham. Oh, I missed that face of yours. You need to call me. And no, I didn't get an omelet or bacon this morning, and I probably won't have time, and we're not going to talk about it. But I do have watermelon and lime in the fridge, and that's happening. Sajith Kumar, good morning. All right. Here we go. Are you ready? So making decisions without data seems silly, right? How many times have you jumped into an idea, a concept, without actually having a breakdown of what's happening? You just a quick assessment, you walk into a busy room, you know exactly what's going down in that room and you don't feel the need to keep going. It may be, think about a child's playroom. You got a bunch of kids over, it's a holiday, maybe you got 10 children deep and as soon as you open that door, it's chaos and toys. And you can assess that quickly, but how are you going to track and adjust these things? Like who is responsible for what in the room? Who created the mess? Who is most capable of helping lead the cleanup? How are you going to measure their success? When are you going to review their success? Who's going to be held accountable, and how if it doesn't work? These are things that I think matter more than just the assessment, right? More than just the identifying what's happening. We need to have a plan of action to change it or even maintain it. Success, straight A's, the hardest to maintain, right? It's easy to earn an A. Can you maintain an A? Kind of mindset. Are you guys with me so far? I want to make sure you are. Okay. So when I think about data, I do think, document, act, track, adjust. It's still assess and address, but we're just going to look at it a little bit different now, right? And really, I want you to think about the different data that you are tracking in your life. And what is the purpose of the data? Because I think it matters. If you're tracking your spending because you don't want to overextend yourself, you don't want to empty a bank account and get penalties, you definitely need to be on top of the data, right? You don't have to be perfect in your spending, but you have to make sure you don't hit that bottom floor that you're monitoring for. It's true with a budget in business. It's true with time management. You really need to be able to assess what you're trying to do, when, why, and how. The who, what, where, when, whys, and hows, guys. I love these things, those elementary concepts. But what is the data about? Why are we finding it important to track? And then how often do we adjust? Because we've talked about driving down the road, going on a road trip. It is very important to every so often just make sure you're still on the path that you had expected to be on. You can take one wrong turn early into a trip, a mile into your journey, and if you don't adjust because you're like, I'm only 10 minutes in, why would I need to look? Oh, I'm only an hour in, it's a 300-hour trip. Why would I need to look? Well, you could be extending your trip. You could be going the wrong way. And actually, it's something that happened to me. I was on a road trip with a good friend of mine, and she, very busy healthcare professional, didn't have a lot of time to read. And so we were going on this road trip from the Phoenix, Arizona area up to Las Vegas. It's about an 8-hour drive. She was going to drive. I was going to read the book. I was the co-pilot. I was on the map. Those were my two jobs. You read the map, you read the book. Well, we were so enthralled in the book when it came time to read the map and she said, should I go right or left? I looked quickly, but I wasn't certain. I mean, I thought I knew, but did I take that extra step to confirm? No, because I was reading. We were at a light. We had a right or left to make. There was somebody behind us. I moved quickly. Come to find out, we definitely needed to make the right, not the left, because we ended up in California, not Nevada. And it was a funny story when she pulls into this very dark, closed down gas station with just a couple of flickering lights at the pump that's still on and 2 police officers sitting in the parking lot. And she rolls up and just says, how do we get to Vegas? And it was so funny to hear. We weren't far. And it was a common mistake. But that extra step, that extra time of just assessing the data to say, you know what? I'm not sure. Can you pull over for 2 seconds so I can gather where we are? I was enthralled. I was in the book. I was reading a book. I couldn't read the map and do both. And you heard me reading it. So let's just take a pause. These are things that sometimes we don't ask for. Sometimes we're so busy trying to get it out that we don't slow down, that we just kind of push through. Does that make sense? And so if we're tracking data, if we have an intention of following a chart, following along a map to do something with purpose, then we need to pay attention, and not just to the overall outcomes, but every step along the way. And we need to determine how many steps is safe to take before we look around again. Does this make sense? Are you guys with me? I know it's early in the morning. Let's check the chat. Okay, so let's see here. I'm just going to highlight you guys for a second. Ooh, coming in from Moldova, Ukraine, and Africa. Okay. Oh, yeah. Omelet. Man, I saw that. Oh, you were so ghetto last night. Okay. I don't know what happened. I'm kind of glad I missed it. Pesky gremlins. Sajith says, document, act, track, adjust is what Claude plus Obsidian does automatically, but we still the human to act on it. We still need the human to act on it, right? There are so many tools that can make this more effortless. And as we grow forward, to not have a tool in your kit that helps you to do this, you're going to be left behind. If you're not tracking your financial situation, you're going to be left behind. If you're not putting in the effort to learn what's happening in your industry, documenting different processes and procedures and what's new in AI and what's new in your industry with AI, and how are you going to implement these tools, and how are these tools possibly going to impact your career, and what are you going to do to track this and adjust for it and make sure you're staying on top of it, right? These are things we need to pay attention to. David Pushkin says, while it can be useful to use your gut or intuition, it can also be more useful if you're using data-led decision-making. That way you can back it up with actual numbers rather than feelings. And you know what? I love when my gut and my data align. And guys, the more you assess data, the more you're able to understand this behavior in this moment, in this room, is going to have a ripple of X in my data set. You're going to be able to empower yourself, whether that is, hey, every time I show up and say, I want help to meet somebody who can hire me, this person always has a connection that will get me a step closer. Or this person takes me further away. Maybe it's, I am trying to, successfully do X. If you show up in a room and you're never able to get beyond, the D, A, B, C, D, and you're just stuck there and you can't get to X, why are you in that room? What is the limitation in that room? Who is it that you're associating with? Is there anybody else you can add to your Venn diagram of connecting to get you further, right? As you're assessing your actions and what's holding you back and what's pushing you forward and all of these things, it's really good to repeat the successes. Now, on the other side, not to just sound like I'm just harvesting, if you know that every time you connect with somebody, and every time I call Bob, I say, Bob, I need a new client. My coaching pool is shallow, and Bob sends me a lead, then I probably owe Bob a little thank you, because every time I connect with Bob, he connects me to something. I probably should connect myself to a thank you of some sort. Does that make sense? It's not just about taking, but it's also about knowing what to give and where. All right. What are you guys tracking right now? I want to know that, and that's my question while we move into the next slide. But what data do you track and how often? Do you have things you track for work? Do you have personal items you track? What are those things you're tracking right now within your industry or your body? Or diabetes. My mom was diabetic. My father too, actually. Both parents diabetic. And so tracking sugars is an important facet of their day. So think about what you're tracking. If you want to share, drop it in the comments. Stay curious long enough to see what's actually happening. This is the part where intuition and instinct and being really excited and jumping into the pool with both feet can have to be slowed down a bit. Maybe we pause that behavior. Maybe we go, hold on. What's in the pool? Before I dive into this dark pool with no light from below, how deep is it? Where does it go? Who is there? Anybody else in there right now? Did you watch them fill it? Was there fish in here? Is there a shark? Is this a shark tank? Is this a swimming pool? Piranhas, have you heard of them? Electric eels. They weren't so cool in Little Mermaid. They were the mean ones. These are questions that I would ask before jumping into a dark set of water. What are questions that I'm missing, guys? What are the ones you would ask yourself before diving into a lake you've never been in a place you've never experienced? Would you go swimming in the Amazon, or would you pause and assess what's actually happening on the water with the locals before you just dive into swim? I think often in business, we don't stay curious long enough to see what's happening within an industry. We just get to work. We don't ask the right questions before we get started, and often we find ourselves lacking because we didn't prepare. So what is it that you assess? What do you document? What do you track? What do you do before you ever take a step, before you ever act on that idea, that concept? What are your non-negotiables to slow yourself down and assess what the next step should be? And then what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if you want your gold star, you do the action, and you don't get it? Do you give up? Is it no longer fun because maybe it wasn't an actual passion, but just something that was fleeting and you didn't know it was until you realize I don't have enough curiosity to keep going if it didn't work immediately? Christine says, I track my food every time. I also track my to-dos and next steps, whether that would be work or personal. I love that. Sajith Kumar says, tracking skills gaps, focusing on top 3 skills and trying to make it better. I absolutely adore that. When somebody asks you what you're good at, are you able to tell them? If you were asked by your employer, your colleague, your client, or prospect, what 3 things you would say you stand for, what are they? And we've had this conversation on the show before, right? Who are you if you had to summarize it in 3 words? Melissa is coaching, consulting, and connecting. If I had to have 3, that Venn diagram for me, that's it. Because right in the center is who I am. I'm going to do all of it. Most often, I have to do all of it to be successful in any of it. It's just how I've structured my success story, right? And how do you maintain that momentum if you're not passionate about it, if you're not curious about it, if you're not willing to keep going? I think of the inventors of our time and beyond, right? How many times did they fail before they were successful? And were they actually even successful in their time? I feel like all of the best and greatest inventors were not actually celebrated in their day. Very few actually lived to see the full benefit of their work come to fruition. And how many stood next to them in those shops that we've never heard of because they gave up? They were like, it's just not working. Edison, this bulb thing, just not a phones. Electricity running through the walls. Have you ever seen the movie Oh Brother, We're Out Now? Where they're going to light up the city using hydroelectricity. Who created that? How did they figure it out? What are these experiments if they're not tracking their results and then adjusting to see what the next result would be? How often are you assessing your actions, guys? Be honest with yourself, because as a coach, you want me to tell you what I've seen most often outside of this platform. And I'm going to give a little gold star to those who are on the platform this morning, whatever platform you're on. If you're listening and you're taking notes and you're doing your thing, congrats, this doesn't apply to you. But how many people do it just annually? Happy New Year. What's your resolution? What's the one thing you're going to fix out of 365 days? Be honest. Was there a time in your life where that was really the only time you did the check-in? Maybe a birthday? For me, holidays always are like, wow, last year this time. It's a good mile marker. Not all of the holidays count. Flag Day doesn't get me excited. No offense to Flag Day. But it's not a day where I sit down and go, I have to assess again. But on my birthday, when I'm like, I'm coming up on 20, 30, 40, any of the variables beyond, what have I done with my time? How much time do I have left? What do I want to change so I make sure I get it accomplished, right? What is actually happening in your life and how are you letting it happen? When we adjust, we stop confusing the first idea with the final answer. And this goes right back to that evolution of invention, right? Just because you have an idea to be awesome at X does not mean you're not going to end up on Z by the end of the journey. A really great invention may go 10 times farther because what was once just a pocket knife now is a Swiss Army knife. Just needed a tool in my pocket so it's handy. And then, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if this knife also could open a bottle and I don't know, have scissors. And what else does a Swiss Army knife have? I don't know. I don't know. But they just kept adding so many ways you can play. And so what is it about your answer, your idea, your life where you can create that pocket-sized toolkit for yourself? And what does it look like? Do you even know what your toolkit looks like? Do you know what you would need in case of an emergency and what you can harness from yourself? Are you open to your idea shifting? How often do you get feedback on your idea and then it just goes away? I see season 1 of Tracker was good, but then I lost interest after that. I need to watch Tracker. I don't know what that is. Felipe says track LinkedIn analytics, recruiting, time to fill, quality of hire, and turnover. I love LinkedIn analytics, guys. If you're not tracking your social selling index, highly recommend you do it now. Tell me where you stand. I would love to know. This is a great time to assess and adjust for how your actions move you on LinkedIn. So if you haven't done it yet, go up to that search bar, get a new tab, right? Open up a new tab, whatever, go to LinkedIn, go up to that search bar and just put in social selling index. When you do, it's going to say learn more. You click that, you scroll down to get my score. You got to scroll a couple times. They're hiding it a bit. When you get that score, what it's going to do is take the industry you selected and it's going to rank you against all the other professionals on this platform according to LinkedIn's own report card. There are 4 facets of it. It's really cool to figure out. Each pillar has 25 points, and you can see how many points in each pillar you have. If you want, share it below. Drop a screenshot. It's kind of fun, but this is a way to assess your actions here on LinkedIn, right? Christine says, due to the varied experience over time, it has become crystal clear. Show me and to others what I'm good at. It really does. When you track your actions, you realize a lot about yourself. Even if it's just snacking. Do you know, I forget what I had to eat this week. If I had to run it down, it would take me a second to run through it. The other part of life is if I find that information valuable, if I want to monitor my weight, if I have a tracking app and I'm not plugging it in as I go, I'm wasting time trying to recall it, right? So sometimes it's tracking as you go, assessing the data later. Chris says, I measure everything on impact. I am moving the needle on poverty and exploitation. I am making a difference or simply managing. Ooh, I freaking love that. Am I making a difference or simply managing? Because I am absolutely happy with the job of the water pump that keeps the levels below a certain line in a ship. And it's its only job and it should cluck away and it's great. It doesn't have to get better at the job as it goes. It shouldn't. There is a max potential when I installed it. I knew it. It's okay. Just keep plucking away and I'm happy. But that is one job, one facet, very specific, very focalized, right? On very specific to that overall job. An accountant, for example, they're not in sales, but they are going to be able to help sales do better because they're tracking the data. They're tracking the results. I want the accountant to be there because everything we do has to pass through that human. And that data is going to matter. So how do you track it? Is it worthwhile? Sometimes I've tracked things one way and went, oh, that's not working. Show ideas. I tried to use my notes app for show ideas. I hate it. I hate it so much in my soul. But I love having the ideas in a notebook. When I started Coffee Chats, it was an audio event. Here we are not in an audio event, right? We can't sit in the first evolution of that concept. Disneyland, when they first opened, they didn't look like they do today. The rides were not exactly the same. The characters didn't even dress the same or look the same necessarily. There have been evolutions. The first idea doesn't have to remain forever, right? It's a great jumping off point, but it's up to you to determine, are you going to be that water pump that does that one thing and it needs to do the one thing and that's fantastic and we're never shifting it? Will that water pump get replaced once it's burned itself out with the new, updated, more powerful, more capable? Yes. You're not a water pump, but Same concept. If you're in your position and you're plugging away and you're doing the thing, and it's, I was hired to do this, and this is all I do for the company, and that's all you're going to limit yourself to. Are you telling the company they're going to need to upgrade the product to get better outcomes? Just because you were hired for X doesn't mean that you might not have to move to Y now as the company evolves. Are you willing to make that change? And if not, that's okay. But can you assess why you don't want to grow there? Because I had a lot of teachers who were coming to me for career coaching to shift out of the classroom and move into other things. And when I asked them what they wanted to move into, they're like, oh, I want to get out of the classroom. I want to move into sales. I was like, great. What's drawing you to sales? Well, I'm just so sick of being yelled at in the classroom all the time. I'm so sick of attitudes and behaviors and disrespect. And I'm like, hey, have you ever heard how telemarketers are treated on the phone? Because I was a telemarketer for a while, and I can tell you, I have never been so berated and degraded as those moments where they didn't have to put a face to a name, where they could just talk to you however they wanted to, and there was no real punishment because you called them uninvited, right? And so when I explained to them, sales isn't always sugar cookies and rainbows. It's not like the best parts of class. There is bad and good in everything. And if these are the things you're trying to leave behind, maybe we need to look at a different role, maybe like customer support, where you can solve their problems, but they're not really angry with you. They're happy, and then that's not always true either. It depends on the industry. It depends on the customer. There is no perfect fix, but how we assess the job, how we address the moments, how we work for a company who says, oh, when that happens, when it goes from being sunshine and rainbows to them being berating or disrespectful, you can say this and just end the call. If they arm you to not have to deal with it, right? The first idea of having it sunshine and rainbows in a classroom, and it's all, those special shiny moments we all have in our soul from our elementary experience. That is not what the teachers now are experiencing. And that's where this mindset comes, right? We have to adjust. We have to stop confusing what our first idea was with the final answer. Just because you started in school to be 1 degree doesn't mean you're not allowed to shift your major, to change perspective, to grow with new data. And that's the whole stinking point, guys. What is the point of having data if we're not going to allow it to evolve our concept with us, for us? Are you with me? The useful action is not always louder. It's not always busier. It's not always to add more of a thing. It is just more intentional. When you see certain behaviors bring certain results, you can continue those behaviors or you can stop the behaviors. When you look at your social selling index, for example, you don't have to go on LinkedIn and start screaming from the rooftops, come look at my profile, I am the one to see. But if you see that maybe you're not good at building relationships, maybe you're not good at having your brand explained to those you connect with, then you can adjust that. Maybe it's just SEO, guys. Have you ever been in charge of a website or a brand where you're trying to get people to come to your content, whether it be email, website, social media? You're using SEO and hashtag strategies. Tweaking one hashtag could change the game for a business. It doesn't mean posting 10 times more. It means changing one hashtag, right? Maybe it's not doing more on LinkedIn, but it's taking yourself away from LinkedIn to a different platform. Maybe the people on like Facebook aren't your ideal target market, but LinkedIn is. And so going from Facebook to LinkedIn is a really smart strategy for you. You won't know unless you're tracking your data. What is your post doing? How long does it take to sizzle? How long does it sizzle? How long until it starts to wane? Every platform has a different lifespan. Every platform has a different algorithm. Every platform has a slightly different focus group. And so, depending on what you're serving, depending on what your outcomes are that you're hoping for, you need to adjust. Even video, guys, how many different platforms do you watch shorts, reels, or content of that sort on? For me, I know I watch it on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Certainly, for sure, 4 different platforms that will serve me short form content that I want to consume. If I know that's true for me, wouldn't it be wise for me to focus on those 4 as my primary target? Now, TikTok, you guys are probably saying, why didn't she say TikTok? TikTok is nothing but, well, that's true. I don't live there. It's not where I take in most of my data. Could I? Probably. But I am intentionally not, because I get distracted there. I realize when I go to TikTok, I expend more energy than I receive. And it's not a bad thing. It's a fun platform to be on. However, the way I've used it thus far has not been beneficial to me. It did not bring any value in my business. And that is what I'm doing here on the platforms, right? I'm trying to grow my business. I'm trying to share my mindset. I'm trying to share my tips and tricks so you can use them to grow your life and business and whatever you're working on. So when I'm intentional with where I show up, it helps you guys be more intentional too, right? You know where I am. You can show up at that time on those platforms that I'm streaming to. I will say, if StreamYard and Substack and Instagram and TikTok could get together without a special streaming code, I probably would do it. If it was a little bit more set it and forget it, I would do it. It's not, right? And so I'm intentionally avoiding it because it's more work than I want to put in. And that's allowed, guys. I don't know the ROI of that extra action. I'm not missing it, so I'm not at the point where I need to do it. But I also know that I am very time limited because I run a motorcycle business during the day. I have community events that I host there and beyond. I work with Sliced doing their marketing and events, and we do networking locally, and I'm working with small businesses all the time to do that. I also have the coaching and consulting, my LinkedIn brand, and the energy I expend there. And then I have the coaching clients where I meet one-on-one. And then I also have Careers, Chaos, and Coaching with Felipe. And so you can imagine I have to be super intentional with my time. Not to mention I was doing all of that and somehow still managed to squeeze in 2 books with some friends that became international best-selling. It was intentional actions with the time I had. Did it make a ripple happen that was pretty loud? I think so. I think it's really cool to be able to say on my card that I'm a 2-time best-selling co-author. Yes. I think it's really cool to be able to tell my friends locally that, hey, you guys should check out LinkedIn. And they're like, what's that? And I can show them I have 16,000 plus followers on the platform. I have a great network. I have a great set of friends who has a great set of networks themselves, and we all work intentionally to help each other. I love the concept of StreamYard, taking this evolution of what Coffee Chats was and turning it into what it is today. And the fact that I can just say, clip it, and it will bring this data out. It will just grab it for me and turn it into a short. That's intentional action. It's not louder. I didn't have to hire. I didn't have to go crazy. There are people out there who can do this for me, but I'm paying for a tool that makes it that easy to say, clip it, and it'll be there. And probably just did it a few times for me, which was hilarious. I wasn't thinking that through while I was live. But guys, I want to ask, did you do the SSI? Tell me what your scores were. Did you see anything cool? Because I don't think enough people are taking advantage of this free feature on LinkedIn. Sean says, I use the workflow Kanban, I think I said that right, feature of my email program to track job applications. That's pretty cool. Suchi says, adding your voice can 3 times your visibility, and a genuine face can 10 times your visibility. That's why brands spend billions on celebrities. Be your own celebrity. I love that. And you know what? I got to tell you guys, this is part of my strategy. My action of showing up on video, when I show up, I get a ton more result. When I say I'm going to be a guest on somebody's live show and I'm live on camera, people just show up in droves. And it was a strategy. You can ask my friends. Felipe and I have argued over this a million times. Lauren Sermon and I talked about why I wasn't going to do the live video and why she was so happy that I offered or said yes to be on her show, right? Like, I don't do it often. And the reason is because when I show up on camera, I want it to be very intentional. I want you to really pay attention when I'm there. And while I love you showing up here Saturday mornings for free, when I coach, I'm on camera. Unless the client's like, I hate camera, can we please be on a phone call? That's fine. But you get me intentionally looking at you, focused on you. You get to see my face. You get to see the eyebrow. You get to see the whole thing. It's a useful action that's not louder publicly, but it's 100% more intentional. And when you get that time, you feel the intentionality. That is also something that I had to learn as I grew my coaching business. As Melissa Houston, I know this is shocking. I hope you're sitting down, but Melissa likes to just network and be out there and meet everybody. I love to give. As a matter of fact, I've given way too much for free in my career. I've undersold my value. I've allowed myself to be paid less than I'm worth more times than I'm proud to admit. Now, I'm not alone. In America, females typically do make less than their counterparts. I'm not alone in the fact that when I started my sales career, I didn't realize I could negotiate at the gate. I just was glad I could earn commission. I didn't realize that that base wage was negotiable also. Nobody told me. Nobody knew that, right? Nobody in my circle understood that yet. And so when I started to grow, when I started to just take action, when I started to move beyond where I started. You guys know, if you know me, you know my story. And if you don't, I would highly recommend you get to know me. I have a featured post on my page that talks about my childhood a bit, just bullet points, some of the big stuff. Also, in the chapters that I wrote in, I explain it all. My mom was a drug addict. She had mental health issues. We were homeless very early. I was living on my own at 13 with a family friend. It was my best friend's family. It was a very large Mormon family, lots of girls, 6 of us, a total after I came in, plus mom. It was a busy house. My grandmother offset some of the income by handing her some cash for letting me stay, and I helped babysit and clean the house in trade for the rest. That was the first time I really had to act to stop living inside the problem. It wasn't by choice. I didn't want to move out of my mom's house necessarily at 13. No kid wants to be responsible for that, right? But once I had to move outside of my problem, once I removed myself from the situation that was hindering me, and I started acting on things that I was good at. I'm good at talking to people, so sales was easy. I was good at seeing opportunity. I was my mom's little maid. I cleaned all the time. I had chores. No offense. Look, I'm an 80s kid. I had chores. I say maid. I'm not trying to be derogatory, but it felt like it. When the bunny ears didn't work, I was the one fixing the aluminum foil at the top. It's okay. I wasn't scared of work. I understood there were adults who needed things, and I was an able-bodied person that could offer services. So I would go to the local car dealership next to my apartment complex and say, hey, it rained. Can I wash the cars? Will you pay me to wash them? And they said, yeah, we'll give you $5 a car. I was like, great. Can my best friend help me? Yep. And so my best friend and I put on our bathing suits. We went and we played in bubbles and water, and we were washing cars. At the time, I didn't think about what the benefit was to the car dealership of having some pretty cute kids out here washing cars. But I was hustling at 16. $5 a car, 100 cars in the lot. It was a really lucrative hobby. I did the same thing with washing machines and appliances. A good family friend owned a used appliance shop, and he would remove the old ones, fix it, and sell them. and he would pay me to wash the machines. And so I would get in there and take them apart. I had to learn how to use a screwdriver and understand that these machines do come apart and not be scared to do it. And then get them wet, scrub them down, learn how to detail an appliance like that, and then put it back together. It really was an empowering thing to know that I am able to use a screwdriver and I am able to take things apart. And as long as I'm paying attention to how it comes apart, it should be pretty easy to put it back together. When we act, we stop living inside the problem. What I love about a good Venn diagram is you can put all your problems in the circle. You can put all your goals and dreams in the other circle. You can make them overlap. You can see where you have those skills already in existence. And then you have to-do lists on either side of that Venn diagram, guys. If you want to get out of your problem, whatever that is right now, you need to act. How are you going to act? Well, document the problem. What's the problem? What is the first solution that comes to mind? If I'm overeating and gaining weight, my first solution coming to mind is to stop eating so much, so often, such a dense caloric intake, right? And then how am I going to do that? Because it's not just the what I have to do, but how do I do it? When do I do it? Where? Where do I find the things I need to eat? How am I going to take them in? Am I going to enjoy it? How in the heck am I going to want to eat a salad instead of a burger? Well, have a cheeseburger salad. Ditch the bun and just cut up your burger and make a salad out of it. It's the same. I don't like pickles, though, so don't put any pickles on me. When we track, we stop pretending memory is enough. And this is what really got me. When I stopped paying attention to my calorie intake, I started gaining. I don't know if you guys remember this. Maybe you don't. Maybe we're just meeting each other. But I was once almost 300 pounds. And for me, I'm short. I'm about 5'4" on a good day. 5'3" is probably closer to the truth. Not really certain. I try to measure myself in every gas station, but everyone has a different answer. Truth is, though, I'm a short person. And so being heavy in any way, it really shows quickly. But I also, when I'm fit, I'm very much an hourglass, Marilyn Monroe style body type. Yeah, we could wear the same outfits. And so it's very distinct difference in my closet fitment, in the way my body moves, in what I can do with my hip pain, because I also have arthritis. The heavier I get, the harder it is to move around. And so when I stopped tracking what I was eating, when I wasn't paying attention to, did I eat my calories in the morning or at night? When am I eating my biggest meals? All of those things I used to pay attention to, I don't. I can quickly gain 10 pounds without thinking about it because I love food. I love cheese. I love cream cheese. I very rarely will say no to a pastry if it has cream cheese on it. It's probably my favorite. And I have a lot of friends who like to just stop by and go, hey, you hungry? I brought pizza from Costco. Or, hey, you hungry? I brought you Chick-fil-A. I'm grateful for all of these things. But if I'm not tracking what I'm eating, if I'm allowing others to help me feed myself without any kind of boundaries or implementation set on myself or their behaviors, I'm in trouble. When I try to remember how many calories I had for breakfast, lunch, or dinner off the top of my head, I'm in trouble. Same with spending. You ever go on a day trip with your family and you're like, oh, we have a few stores to hit. The kids need shoes. We got to hit Costco. We're going to have to go over to this place because they need a jacket. And by the end, you're like, how much did we spend today? And you look, you're like, whoa, I don't remember spending that. Have you ever said that? What about the, hey, I'll call you tomorrow's? Ever miss returning that call? The email? You miss paying a note, a bill. Any of that ever happen? I had to call and ask for grace from the courthouse. Guys, here we go. Melissa almost became a criminal. I was summoned to jury duty and I had not remembered that I was supposed to be in jury duty. And so when they sent me a letter reminding me, I had to call and ask for grace because I could not afford to leave my environment at work. I have people on vacation. It's a very busy time. So I had to call them and say, hey, please don't put a warrant out for my arrest for not coming to jury duty. I need help. I need grace. I didn't write this down. I didn't track it. I'm in trouble. My memory wasn't good enough. It wasn't sufficient because I have a lot going on. We've talked about this. And so being able to have your mindset remember some things is great, but don't put those big important things off without having a backup. Glad to tell you in October I will be summoned again for jury duty and all is well. But really, the fact that I let it slip, that it did slip by me, was scary for me. As somebody who did criminal background checks, I don't even want a blip of an accidental, I didn't do what the court asked me to do. Because if I ever want to return to the industry, I would have to explain myself. And that's something we kind of joke about inside the industry. How do you let a warrant happen? How do you not know you have to go to court? Well, I didn't. I wasn't the criminal, which made it a little bit easier to forget. However, there were consequences tied to that behavior they were expecting of me, right? And so when you think about that stuff, what are we going to receive consequences for because we haven't written it down? We haven't remembered. Want to come back to the comments here. Chris says his score is 63. That's a really good score. Sajith says you have a better score than me. Come on, Sajith, tell us, where are you? Show your cards. Sean says his score is 54. I am going to actually take a quick pause here, and I'm going to pull up mine because I feel like it's super rude to ask you guys for yours and not have me give you mine as well. And so I'm pulling it up now. But tell me, guys, where are you? Where are you today? What are you up to while you're listening? While I'm diving through this, getting my score, I would just love to know, because we're about an hour into the show. If you're new here, I appreciate you showing up. This is Coffee Chats with Melissa in Houston. We're streaming on Facebook, where are we? On LinkedIn and YouTube. And we're talking data, document, act, track, adjust. And what do you do with the data once you have it, and all of this fun stuff. But also social selling index. The reason I wanted to cover this topic is because this is the data that LinkedIn is tracking to tell you how you're doing on their platform. If this was their classroom, this is their report card. They are your teacher telling you what you could work on. And so for me, my social selling index score, let me tell you exactly, I am in the sales professionals in operations consulting. I don't know why, but the social selling index score seems to assume you're a sales professional. And so we're just going to rock with that, right? There's nothing to change that terminology. But the operations consulting is the industry I selected for my own. I'm still at the top 1% of my industry, which is fantastic. I'm in the top 6% of my network, which I am excited about. I would prefer to be in my top 10% of my network, if I could be honest. I don't like that score to be as low as it is, or the number to be as small as it is. I like it to be bigger. And this is why. If you are number one in your industry, that's fantastic. But if you're the smartest person in your network, if you're number one, if you're number 2% of your network, then who are you learning from? And I'm not saying that people who aren't at the top aren't valuable, but they're less likely to be seen on the platform. And so are you following them, and are they giving you value, and are they in the top of their network? Because they should be if the data is that valuable, right? And so, and it is based on scores, guys. It's based on actions. The 4 components that they're tracking are establishing your professional brand. This one, I am always confusing LinkedIn. They don't know what to make of me. Right now, if you go to my profile, you're going to see I run a motorcycle store as the store manager. I'm the store manager for Komodo Brands. Huge, nationwide, biggest motorsport provider in the nation. I'm running one of their stores. It's really cool. But I'm also a coach and a consultant in operations. I do mindset. I do life coaching. I have so many different facets of my industry that I am also an author, right? I'm working with Sliced, a restaurant, on their marketing and events. And so when you talk about what Melissa does, I can then diagram the circles down to coaching, consulting, connecting. But LinkedIn's like, girl, I'm confused. I'm giving you 14 out of 25. So I have 14.75 on establishing my professional brand. For finding the right people, which is outbound searching, connecting with people within your industry or your target market. They have an algorithm for this. This is really important if you're in sales. This is really important if you're in the marketing and you're trying to draw specific attention to a brand for a specific purpose. If you have a very niche industry where you're working with like influencers, it would matter. But here, for me, out of the 25, I get 11.563 for finding the right people. I'm just not doing enough outbound searching. I'm not using the tools they give me quite as often as I could. I'm not in the navigator, the sales recruiter. I'm not using the extra tools that are there. And I know that's part of the score. Engaging with insights. This is your comment, guys. This is where you put all of your attention outside of your own profile. And I have a 13 out of 25. Everybody who's here and our friends know I don't spend a ton of time in the comments. It's no offense to you, not at all. But I will tell you that I don't have enough time to do everything I want to do to the full extent that I want to do it. So I am very, very intentional with how I move. When I show up, I speed up on the things I need to, and I slow down on the things I don't, right? And sometimes that slowing down is the smartest way to speed up. This week, I didn't really post a lot to my profile. I didn't, but I got a ton accomplished on the back end of my life. That felt great. And now I feel like I'm at the top of my game for today, which is the way I want to play. Now, when I'm coaching people, I do recommend you make comments before you post. I do recommend you go water the ground before you sow your own seeds in it, right? You want to make it a little bit of a damp earth. You don't want to plant a seed in dry soil. And so you want to make sure you're watering the garden of LinkedIn. All of that network of yours, making sure that it's going to bloom from your presence also. And so sometimes slowing down, engaging on other people's profile before you post is the fastest way to grow. And so if you want to fix your number of engaging with insights, whatever it is, mine is 13, I would slow down and go comment. I would stop posting as often and go get busy in the DMs. I would make sure that I'm talking to my people publicly on LinkedIn. Does that make sense? Anybody agree? Anybody use this method now? Let me know. As far as building relationships, that's 25 out of 25 for me. And that is always my number one pillar that I am not negotiating on. Everything else that I can negotiate on, the establishing my professional brand, I don't care if it's clear. I can help you get clear. You want to know, I'll let you know. If you're not interested enough to ask, we're probably not going to need to coach yet anyway. And so I don't need to worry about it. I have my bills covered. We're okay. I'm making an income. I don't have to go harvest as much as I used to because I have a diverse income strategy. So there's a lot going on there, but that establish a professional brand, I'm okay with not being 100% on that. I'm okay with not finding the right people 100% because, again, I'm not here to do more sales all the time. It's just not what I'm doing right now. Engaging with insights, I do try. Right? I do want it. When something stirs me enough that I have to make myself known, I will. Usually it's on a live event. Yesterday, for example, Melissa Cohen and Leslie Dysig, did I say that right? Neidig. Sorry, I'm waking up. Leslie Neidig were live. And I was commenting on their post because I loved their conversation. And I told them how some of my favorite networking questions are, who's your favorite Sesame Street character and what's your favorite cereal? Small comment, but then the whole show shifted to that comment and they actually answered the question. And that is the kind of engagement where not only am I known, but I get to engage the leaders while they're leading. And I don't do it for them to acknowledge me, but I do it to connect, right? Now I know more about Leslie's love of Fruit Loops and how it must be in a small single serving box like they would give you in the cafeteria in school if she's going to do it. That's so cool. It's so cutesy. And if I'm in sales, okay, and this is where I want you guys who are in sales to listen. If I was in sales and Leslie was my prospect, my to-be client, the one I'm trying to land, the very first thing I would do today is send her a bouquet of individual Fruit Loops. I would send her not flowers, but boxes of Fruit Loops presented as flowers, a dozen of them. So she could randomly pull one out of her drawer and think of me when she snacked. That kind of value. Slowing down to support somebody else's brand, to be at their event, to engage with what they're engaging with, and then to take that information and do something with it quickly. If you're at a networking event and you learn something cool about a person, write it on the back of their card. Save that information, because then when I reach out to Leslie, I can say, oh my gosh, can we meet? I would love to do, like, can we just go to the park, maybe grab some coffee, maybe get a little something like to snack on? I'll bring the snacks. Is that okay? And then I can show up with a cutesy little picnic of cereal and juice boxes. And for Melissa Coaching, that would be on brand. I might even bring bubbles for the occasion, right? And so, guys, think about what you can learn by slowing down. Think about how it might assist you if you just stop doing everything all at once. Because I'm a busy girl and I do a lot of things, but I'm not doing everything. I say no to more than I say yes to. And people don't believe that quite often, but truthfully, I am very strategic about my time. I'm very protective about my lazy time. I love laying in my bed, just lumpkins, because that's when my brain's doing best. I love to take long showers, because if I plan for a long shower and I can actually think, I have brilliant ideas that happen in there. It's like this special magical space, that bathroom. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. Different ways it's used, but people go in there and they have alone time and they really get to self-reflect, self-care, slow down. And then their brain speeds up and it's like, hey, by the way, I've been meaning to talk to you. Here's all the things that I've been working on. What is it you could slow down on to make it better? Even slowing down to learn Claude and how that tool can help you speed up your job applications, your email organization. I had a real estate agent who came in to the last networking event and explained how he uses it all the times for comps on his properties and any historical data about the property and any kind of lawsuits or work or whatever he needs. He can just use AI to go find it. And then he comes back and he double checks the data. Of course, he's not going to just take it as is, but it's saving him hours because he's responding to the emails that it already said, these are your priority emails, respond to these first, while it's sorting the data that he's also supposed to be doing. And he's multitasking without actually multitasking. He actually slowed down. And so he can do more by doing less. It's silly, right? Silly, silly, silly. I just want to look at this here. Okay, so Christine says my SSI score is quite humbling. Industry rank is 3. Industry network rank is 18. Sajid, that's a great spot to be. I think top 5 is really my goal at all times. If I'm 1%, I feel great about it. I feel more comfortable taking time away when I can see that what I do is so surgically helpful and useful for my brand that I can get to the top. But that top 5%, you're still there. LinkedIn is showing value. They are pushing you forward because you're the top of the top on a global platform, guys. Think about percentage-wise what that means on this global platform. I just love this data, right? Because it helps so much. Chris says, I'm 1% in my industry and 8 in my network. Love that. This is fascinating. 4 components of your score, 19 for establish your personal brand, 7.75 for find the right people, 11.2 for engage, and 25 for build relationships. Good morning to Jay. Christine says 57, but I'm at least 17% of my connections. Listen, and that's the thing, guys. You don't have to be the thought leader at all times. If you're not here to lead thoughts, maybe you're not the one hosting all the events. Maybe you're the one attending events and you're feeding yourself. It's okay not to be number one on the stage if you didn't want to be on the stage. If you're in the audience and you're still following this kind of strategic movement where you're getting this score up, where they're seeing you as somebody who's making value on this platform. Again, maybe your score is not as cool as some of the others in the room, and cool is a relative term. But think about what it means on the global scale. Think about being able to articulate in an interview, yes, I am top 1% of operations consultants on LinkedIn. What does that mean in the percentage? What is 1% of the platform? Where do I rank out of 1 billion users? When you think about it that way, the score changes, it evolves. It means way more because you don't need to be number one of all things at all times. But is it moving you towards your goal? That data, that document, act, track, adjust, right? Let me see. Felipe says top 2 for me are build relationships at 25 and professional brand at 21. I need to work on the other 2. But you know what, Felipe, the fact that your professional brand is 21 is why I think, and relationships, don't get me wrong, they're so important. But that combination is what I think creates a top voice on LinkedIn, because they clearly know he is a voice of HR. There is no question there. I am not a voice of HR. I am not clear enough for them to go, what is she a voice of except operations, right? So that is my pillar. That is where I am. But you have to Venn diagram it a little uniquely to see it. Whereas Felipe is very clear. He is coaching and consulting HR stuffs, right? And that gave him that very clear, concise profile for LinkedIn to push because they understood the assignment. They understood what he's doing. And they're like, cool, this is the guy who's got it figured out based on our report card, the 2 pillars that we really care about. He's doing it. So let's elevate him for doing so. Does that make sense, guys? The kid who's really good at math is always the one the teacher would bring up to the board to say, hey, show them how you would do this problem. Sean says, I need to improve my engage with insights. Christine says, I posted a video last weekend and my profile view skyrocketed and I was solicited for a role. Love that. And then Sean says, Am I find the right people score? So I'm glad you guys are diving in because that data, I check in once a week on it. I don't do it daily. I don't care. I don't have enough time to watch the numbers. Data is not something I have to watch at all times unless I'm watching a pressure valve and my job is to keep the engine happy, right? Otherwise, you track it as you need it. But then the other part of it is before we decide the actions we have to take or check, we have to figure out the connections. It matters. What are those steps going to do for our goal? How is it connected to the outcomes we're trying to bring? There's a ripple, right? We always talk about it. And if I do 10 push-ups today and 20 squats tomorrow and keep doubling those things and adding a new workout every day with a new set of reps, I know it's going to connect me to a healthier body. I know it's going to connect me to more toned muscle. I know it's going to connect me to a discipline, strength, resistance, all of that stuff. Is that a goal that I have? And of course, we should all want health, right? So that's a simple yes, typically. But what are those actions you're taking now? And what are they connected to? There are some things that are time wasters. Time sucks. TikTok was one of them for me. Before I started to act there, I needed to check the connections. Is it going to connect me to the people I wanted to? Maybe. When I found myself on TikTok, though, what I connected to was people from LinkedIn, which is fine, but I'm already doing that. Did I find a few extra followers? Sure. Did I find the value I had hoped to find immediately? No. Was I silly to expect it? Probably. But am I connected to the passion of TikTok enough for me to want to keep pushing? Not at all. And that's no offense to TikTok. I'm not upset at anybody who loves it. My problem is such that I keep hearing it was going to go away. And when I was a kid, I didn't go to church a lot, but the one thing I remember they taught me when I went is the foolish man builds his house upon the sand, right? And so I kept hearing this is shifting, this is moving, it's going away, it's not staying. So I stayed away from it. I didn't want to put my time and energy into something I, 1, got distracted by, 2, didn't see enough value from. Even from the outside looking in, the people who had success stories, it's great, but it is a different vibe. There are people doing business there. It's just not the way I want to do it. Again, we've talked about me on video. TikTok is a video heavy platform. They want to see your face. They want to see you dance. I'm not doing dances on TikTok. Will I dance with you at a a coaching convention where we have like the Airbnb rented and I'm cooking and we're coaching and we're doing the things, yes, we will absolutely do teach me the TikTok dances there. But I don't want the video. You guys, I'll be in your video when we're at the retreat, intentionally making sure I'm connecting to you in your way. But I don't need to be there every day for you to want to make a video with me on your TikTok, right? And so thinking about that ripple, how does it connect to you? And does it at all? And if it ever did, how would you want it to? What would that look like? Because you can't be intentional unless you have a plan. Did you write that down? Did you clip that? You can't be intentional without a plan. Whenever Sajith Kumar says, whenever I attend your or Felipe's session, I don't need to be part of the session, but can leverage your network to gain more visibility. Absolutely. And he brings such valuable commentary that we do highlight him. Immediately, I want to put him on the screen because he does make it relevant to the conversation. He does bring value to what I'm speaking to. And then he also does this on his platform. So when I invited him, it was intentional. This is somebody who does this quite often. So I knew he could speak to experience. And as somebody who's a marketer and somebody who likes engagement and somebody who knows value, I know by inviting him, it's going to increase my visibility as well. So it's not something that is one-sided here. We're both gaining momentum by working together, by being connected, by taking actions at the same time on the same day, platform, intention, topic. And it's just that easy sometimes, guys, right? And it might take time for Sajith Kumar to understand who I am and vice versa. But once you do, you can throw them on the screen confidently and broadcast them across different platforms and even have them in your shorts and reels confidently. Now, what I don't think he knows is I talked about him on my last episode. He wasn't in attendance then, so I don't think he knows. But this is your cue. Maybe you want to go play team replay on the last week. All right. Jamie says, I'm way down, 44 with a 0.6 engage with insights as I haven't been active. I'm top 76% in my industry, though, as the average score for the industry is 26. Listen, that's great. And honestly, what I love about what he knows is this is why I'm not here. So he's not beating himself up about the score. He assessed the data and went, I understand what happened. I tracked it and I can adjust if I want to change it. If not, at least he knows what the causation is. So later we can fix it, right? Long showers are my absolute favorite. Me too, right? I hate that. I'm never going to be the best case scenario of saving the planet by my water conservation. And I feel very bad about it. I really do. But also, it's self-care. It soothes my soul. I try to take hot baths instead. I'm a kid who grew up in Arizona, and so we had these pools of water that just stayed outside and the hot tubs too. And so I used to just have access, and when you just jump in, it's already ready. That doesn't work up here. It doesn't. And it's 54 degrees outside, and I wish I had the hot tub now. Okay. So before we decide the actions, we have to check the connections, right? So what are your actions connecting you to? Let's be honest with ourselves. What actions do you take every day, and what do you think they're going to bring you? I want to open up the stage here soon. I have a few more points I absolutely want to make, but if you want to join the conversation today, if you want to talk about what you're getting from this, how you're tracking, if you have additional questions about the social selling index score or any of what's happening here on LinkedIn, feel free to message me on LinkedIn specifically, and I will send you the link to join. Please make sure you do it in the next few minutes because I'm not going to keep the stage open for very long. But I want you guys to really think about what we've talked about, right? We're talking about the data. We're talking about document, act, track, and adjust. Take your actions, right? Write it down so we don't forget. Don't rely on your memory. Make sure you're acting on what you said you wanted to complete, and then track the outcomes. If you don't like what you're seeing, you adjust. If you love it, you maintain it, right? And you adjust as you see declines or improvements. What is it that's working and what is it that's not? This is for you to decide. This is for you to monitor. I really have to say, when it comes to time management and when it comes to getting things done, I think my biggest hint, tip, whatever, is always the document then act, because when you write things down, your brain releases it. And I know we've talked about this on the show for those who've listened, so I'm sorry I'm repeating it, but you know that when you have your grocery shopping list in your head, you're like milk, bread, eggs, cereal, whatever it is, you're going to repeat it in your head. It's like this nonstop mantra until you write it down. And once you write it down, very rarely can you just immediately go, oh yeah, no, it was this list, right? Maybe you don't remember. And that's me, at least. I write it down. My brain goes, good, dry erased it. Done. Use that space again. It also happens with goals. It also happens with ideas. I've had this $1 million idea in my brain, and I could be wrong, right? Like everybody thinks they have one, but I've had this idea in my brain since I was a young girl with my grandmother. And I told her the idea at the time. She goes, oh, Missy, you would make a killing. And I said, yeah, I know. Have I brought it to fruition? No, I forget about it until I don't. And then I'm like, dang, why haven't I done that yet? That's just sitting right there. And I know I could do it. And I haven't. And so what needs to happen is I need to write it down and put it in a spot where it's not going to be forgotten, where I don't have to remember to remember. Does that make sense? How many times have you forgotten to remember, right? Where you're like, okay, you have to remember this. And does it work? What is your trick for getting yourself to remember something? Is it an app? Is it an alarm? I use alarms a lot. I love sticky notes within reason. I feel like a 3 sticky note rule is important to have on your desktop at any time. Anything more than that, and you're already taking on too much, right? I think 3 to-do lists are fantastic. I think today's to-do list should only have 3 dots on it. Same with this week, same with after. I like to work in 3s because we get overwhelmed, and it's easy to forget when you forget that you have so much going on and you have so many things to remember. And how many items can you remember before you forget? I am pretty smart cookie. I'm not a silly girl at all, but I only bring this up because I am a big fan of puzzles. I play LinkedIn games. Do you guys play the LinkedIn games? I have been playing for quite some time. I'm going to pull it up right now, actually, because I don't want to fib. So I have played Pinpoint for 625 days in a row. I have a 95% win streak. I have guessed on the first guess. My max streak was 625, guys. So it wasn't until 626th day that I missed the puzzle. I love it. That's just one of the puzzles I play. I want to see what else. And I'm just going to go through this, guys, because I can. It's my show. On Cross Climb, I have played for 635 days. I have a 100% win streak with 646 plays total. So I did miss a day somewhere. But I am on my longest streak of 635 days. Consistency. And I'll explain it more here soon. But I love these games for a lot of reasons. For Sudoku, I have 320-day win streak, 100% win. Best score was 36 seconds. And it's kind of fun. Yeah, so there we are, almost a year on Sudoku. Zip, which is my favorite of all the games. I have been playing for 449 plays, a 442-day win streak, and my best score was 3 seconds, guys. I did that little puzzle in 3 seconds time. Why does it matter? Because I like to strategize. I like to track how my brain works. I like to keep up against my friends on LinkedIn. If we're checking our social selling index score and we're checking our brand against our friends, why wouldn't we want to see our top score, especially us 80s kids who played in the arcades, against our friends? And to be honest with you, this is a pretty damn smart platform. Highly intelligent people hang out here. LinkedIn is one of the best and brightest platforms I think have ever existed on the planet, like ever, because the opportunities that are here, the ability to take and create a show like this, the ability to use your voice and get a top voice badge, the ability to create a newsletter, to be able to share your mindset, to be able to play games with your friends and be no more than 3 connections away from anybody on this platform. They beat Kevin Bacon by 50%. They cut down the connection time by half. That's pretty darn good. As far as Patches is a new box game. Kind of didn't love it at first. I'm going to be honest. It took a minute to grow on me. I've been playing for 101 plays, 99% win streak with a best score of 8 seconds. Kind of cool. And then Wend is the newest of all the games I'm playing. I'm on a 19-day win streak. 21 seconds, my best score. Now, what I love about this is it shows you where you rank every day. And my favorite thing to do is wake up, and as soon as my eyes open, as soon as I can actually read the screen in front of me, I go right to the games and I just check how Melissa's brain's functioning. If the world was going to end, if the zombie apocalypse starts right now, how quickly can I jump into strategizing? How quickly can I get to the top? Am I sharp yet? And it's okay if I'm not, but it's so cool. And I got to be honest, guys, this is the closest to a Navy SEAL I think I'll ever feel. It's really cool to open my eyes at 4 o'clock in the morning and go play a puzzle game out of a dead sleep and be number 1 on LinkedIn all day long. That's a gold star I track. Because if I become in a cognitive decline, if my brain stops being as sharp, I want to know. If something isn't functioning as quickly as it used to, I want to know. If I see somebody kicking my butt all the time, I want to know. Ask me why. All right, I'll tell you. It's because I'm going to call them and go, hey, what are you doing that I'm not? And actually, I have reached out in the DMs to these top performers saying, hey, I saw you kicked my butt at Zip. How do you do it? And the guy said, oh, just keep practicing. Oh, just don't think about it. Just do it. And it's so funny when somebody's good at something, they're like, oh, just do it, right? It's motivational, but at the same time, can you tell me, right? And so what I realized I do, and I'll give you my tip for Zip, because I wanted to have an answer if somebody came to me. My tip is to quickly just take in the positions. Don't move until you take a quick snapshot with your eyeballs of 1 through whatever the top number is. Usually it's 10 or 12. And just see where they're positioned. Because once you kind of remember where it is, you can quickly, in your short-term memory, store that. You can run your finger faster. And so I don't even put my finger on the screen until I see what the screen is laid out as. Same with Sudoku. I like to see, what do I know for sure is an easy first place. And when you learn to strategize, when you learn to pause and track and adjust, these things start to come naturally, guys. And that's why I bring up the games. It's not for my own gold star, though it is. It is a little bit. I like to brag a little bit. Go beat my score. But it is also because it's a tool I use to track and adjust myself. To see how my memory is doing, to play games, to encourage that strategy to remain a skill that I'm utilizing. Your body is going to do what you train it to do. If I woke up and did 25 push-ups, I would have fantastic arms in no time. I do mental push-ups. It's a different game. Same concept. I'm still building a muscle. It's just a different muscle I'm working with intention, right? I know what I'm trying to get out of this. I know why I do it. And it also is really nice for marketing. If you do it early, everybody who plays will get to see your face bubble over and over. And if they play games and you play games, will we all do this LinkedIn live in person when we get together and I say, hey, you want to go play a board game in the corner? I know who's going to say yes. I know how to get an easy yes to that playground. All right, I'm checking my DMs on LinkedIn. If you want to join the stage, come on over. Also, I think this is a great time to remind you, tomorrow is Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. Are you guys going to make sure to attend that? Because Felipe and I are coming to have another conversation with you guys. We are going to be talking about change happens, right? Progress being a choice. We're going to talk about leadership, guys. We got a lot going on. So go check out his profile. Go click attend right now. I'm going to go check at the end of the show and see who has done it and who hasn't. Because it's not enough to remember we're going to be live tomorrow. All right. So with that said, document, act, track, adjust the data that is our lives. What are you using it for? What are you trying to grow? Who is it that you're connected to? What is the ripple of that connection and why? What is it that you have going on right now that you're trying to share, grow, right? I want to know, how can we help? What did the show bring to you that maybe is something you're going to implement right away? Guys, I'm coming over to, I have some people wanting to come on stage. I'm coming over to send the message here soon. Give me a second. I'm multitasking. But I would love to know what you're getting from the show today. I would love to know what you're tracking, how we can help, what you've learned about tracking. What is the best way for you? What tools are you using to make life better, to slow down, to speed up? Do you have any of that? I would love to talk more about that social selling index score. Before I bring everybody up, guys, I just want to remind you, Melissa Houston, cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. I help people like you with life coaching, business consulting, operations, really streamlining your processes, time management, learning how to document so you can act. If you want to learn more about what I do, please go to my website, documentthenact.com. You can figure out a little bit more about me, read some of the testimonials that are there, but also just fill out the form. If you want to chat, you could do that. Go to LinkedIn and just DM me and say, I want to chat. You could do that too. Also, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go do that now. I'm trying to get there. I think I was at 45 subscribers last I saw. I want to get to 500. I want to be able to really make YouTube a pillar of my brand. That is an intention I am working on. And so if you can just go over there, share it, tell your friends, I would appreciate it. All right. So let me see here in the comments. All right. So I have sent invites to those who have asked for it, and we are good to go. Okay, guys, coming back to data really quick, I want you to make sure that you are giving yourself grace. It is not about perfection. When you go back and look at your data, when you go back and identify these growth spaces, I don't want you to be mad at yourself for not doing it as successfully as you thought you should have. Because when you were younger and just learning to ride a bike, it wasn't perfect, but it was damn fun, right? It wasn't about being the fastest rider who ever lived on a bicycle. It was about not having to walk around anymore. The perfection came with time. You got to do cool tricks and wheelies and take off the training wheels. And maybe you even got to be as cool as I was, where I could ride hands-free and do like octopus arms dancing on my bike while I was going, 25 miles an hour down the street. That was not my first experience. As a matter of fact, I barely kept the bike upright the first time I ever rode it. But by the end, I was hands-free, doing what I wanted. I could lean and make the bike move with me. I had tracked the way it felt below me when I would shift my weight one way and then the other. When I sat upright versus leaning in. When I went uphill versus downhill. The really cool part of a bicycle analogy is, in my experience, and tell me if you've ever done this, but it's harder to control the bike as you climb up. And I say this because when I was pedaling, that's when the bike shifted the most. When I right foot down, left foot down, right foot down, left foot down, the bike would lean with me, right? The more side action I got while I was pushing those pedals down, the harder I was moving the bike. But it meant that I wasn't controlling my handlebars very successfully without hands on, right? I had to be in control. I had to push the power. I had to be churning all the time to get up that hill. That's okay. But it wasn't the perfection of being able to glide down the hill, to just cruise, to work the handlebars my way. Or not. Downhill, I could go hands-free in a way that I couldn't uphill. And others are like, oh, isn't that dangerous? Abso-stinking-lutely. I didn't say it's not dangerous. None of the things we really want to do come with zero risk. But what risk is worth it? What task can you repeat over and over and still give yourself that grace to keep going while you stumble? Is it aligning you with your purpose? Is that work, that effort, that instability, that huffing and puffing you have to do on the uphill worth the effort if you get to glide down the other side? Hi, Yvette. Okay, I just see her here. She says, hey, Melissa just stopped in for a second. Gabe is asleep, waiting for him to get up so we can head to the beach. They are on this fantastic journey. I got a quick snippet this morning, but I love Yvette and I love Gabe. Met Gabe first. He and I were talking about his journey on LinkedIn when we met, and it evolved into some coaching on dating. And thank goodness he listened, because it led him to this beautiful woman, and he opened up his life to something so cool. And it was totally worth the risk. And now they are so cutesy all over the internet. You should follow them too. I appreciate the messages. I just got somebody telling me they appreciate the show today. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you being here. I show up to this platform, guys, to give some insight to what I go through. I got to tell you, I have failed far more times than I've succeeded. I have heard the word no way more times than I ever heard the word yes. Like I said, I used to be a telemarketer. But I will also tell you that one of my first jobs as a kid was selling newspapers door to door. So I got no slammed in my face first. It was much easier to hear no on the phone. It was much easier to have an auto dialer that didn't even make me do the work. I just sat there, and when I heard the beep, I just went. I had a script. I didn't even have to think about it. After you say it so many times, you can just repeat it. And then what was fun is, once I got the script down, I used my voice for inflection. I added my own personality. I didn't want to be publisher's headquarters calling you. I wanted to be Melissa calling from publisher's headquarters. How are you today? Right? When you think of things differently, it works. I would have never wanted to be a telemarketer, and now it's one of my fondest memories of work. It's a job that I got to sit, do what I do best, which is talk to humans, offer them magazine subscriptions. I knew that the magazine subscriptions would feed the publishing marketing. The more subscribers, the more we can charge to advertise within the business, within the pages. And so I knew I was helping a business grow, and I knew there was a huge ripple here, but I also knew that I got to color while I was sitting on the phone. I got to bring arts and crafts to work every day, and I could do whatever I wanted at my desk because my boss saw my numbers. I had been there for 3 months, and I outsold everybody who was there for the year. My cousin was the other top seller. We both got to go on an all-expense-paid cruise. We were both working for the same business. And we were just good at talking, good at having fun with the job in front of us, knowing that we had worked much harder for much less. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't an exciting job, but it was something I was good at and I could replicate over and over and over, and I got to do something I enjoyed while I was there. It wasn't perfect, but man, was it good. And so what is good in your life right now that maybe you could just maintain, you could keep it? It's a low-hanging fruit. It's something that's there already. You don't have to work too hard to keep it, but you could maybe improve it. What is the thing that you could swap out for something more intentional? I am swapping TikTok time I could be spending over there like the rest of the world, into StreamYard time so I can broadcast. I could easily spend 2 hours on a Saturday morning scrolling TikTok before I do the rest of my day. Instead, I'm hoping to fill your cup, right? Little coffee chat style. I'm hoping my message, my skills, my knowledge share is going to elevate you in some way. I just want to have my ripple. I want my purpose to be to grow others, whether it's their mindset, their dreams, their businesses. All of that's negotiable, right? All of that is something I can help with. That is easy enough. I have done it in every facet of my career, from being a staffing and recruiting professional certified in my craft, helping HR people hire more efficiently, more securely, making sure that risk and compliance was monitored and background screening, and making sure you're not using data you shouldn't. All of these nuances across, all the states, all the counties, all the jurisdictions, and there's so many variables. Those little nuanced things that I was in control of helped me to identify nuanced things to control. How those small little periods in a data set can change the entire report layout. How, if you're not careful and you're functioning in HTML coding, you're in a lot of trouble very quickly when you're editing reports. And that's how I started in an industry. And I realized, man, this is the worst way to play. Isn't there a button we could do that would just clear the inputted data without us editing the code itself? Can't we just say this is clear and have it delete the center section automatically? And you know what? They went, of course we could. Why? Yeah, that's silly. We didn't think of that. So I went from having to use a tabletop or a laptop, a desktop computer, to being able to work from my tablet, because I just said, hey, why can't we? Guys, just because it's functional doesn't mean it's perfect, right? And just because it's not perfect doesn't mean it needs to be perfected. But why aren't we making sure we're moving with purpose? Christine, welcome to the stage. What's coming up for you?
Oh, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, I have my tea kettle going off in the background. Sorry. So what you just said, I was going to say something else, but what you just said about why can't we? I work in a place now that has, it seems to have, and it's showing me that it has like psychological safety. So if I bring up things that could be improved or things that aren't working, they act on it. Like they removed my boss and they changed the structure of the company and they are changing the incentive plan. I mean, I am shocked, really. I don't even know. It's insane. But I think it's also how I positioned everything, and I had data, and I had like issue, example, business impact, recommendation. I made a real business case for a lot of different things. And I do think it's a great place to work in general, but there were some things that had to be adjusted. But more on the subject of the whole thing that we're discussing, um, what I do is I start my day, and I don't always remember, but I have an ADHD notebook that tries to like make me list like 3 things that I'm grateful for, so that I start off with the right mindset. And that at the end of the day, I take stock, like every night, like, was I patient, kind? Was I selfish? Do I owe somebody an apology? Was I of service? Was I a good employee, spouse, friend, mom? Did I grow? How did I grow? And how can I be better tomorrow? And this notebook has really changed my life. It's really been great to track all of that stuff. And even how I contribute at work, I think I've made enormous contributions in a very short amount of time. And that is just the culmination of all my experiences, because it's not my first rodeo and I've been around the block a billion times. But I just wish I wasn't such a late bloomer. I definitely was a late bloomer. I had my kids late, got my house late, whatever, like I just didn't get my act together. And I'm kind of open that I'm in recovery. So it's, a lot of it had to do with that. But what my father used to say is, at least I bloomed, like eventually, right? So I have to look at that.
And
And I landed
honestly,
there.
I love that, because we don't always get to control how long it takes to harvest. We don't always get to control how long it takes for the flowers to bloom in spring. It really isn't always in our control. And that's true with us too. My daughter calls it burnt toast. And I know she learned it from somebody. So whoever originated it, please take your credits. But burnt toast theory, if you miss the bus, if you burn your toast and you have to start another batch of toast, there should be gratitude behind that, because you may have missed the car accident. You may have missed something that was going to set you into a different position later. And so even if you were late to bloom, there's a lot of reasons that your life still aligned the way it did to come out this way. And maybe you don't know yet, but I really believe in that delayed experience being an intentional thing. I too haven't lived the best life I feel I could have. Imagine if Melissa Houston would have been able to go to college right out of high school and not take care of her grandfather. What if she would have been an attorney instead of working background screens? I love the law. I could see myself being, in government had I not been in the family that I was in. But my ties will never get me the clearances that I would need to be part of the government in the United States. Well, maybe now, I don't know. Let me skip over what I just said. Point is, I always thought, what if? I think I could have been a great medical professional. I love the industry. I learn well. I love all of that because I was a caregiver. I understood it. I liked it. I'm not a nurse. Why am I not a nurse? Why am I not a surgeon? Because I'm here. And I don't know why I'm here yet. I don't know whose story it is that I'm going to ripple into, but I know it's happening. And I think if we can get excited about the timing and release ourselves from that deadline that we've self-imposed or have been marketed throughout our life, then we allow a lot more grace. When I talked about those inventors earlier, I mean, how old was Einstein before he was acclaimed? How many of these inventors, the Wright brothers, were celebrated in their time versus now? I think we got to, have perspective on that too. We're not always going to see our ripple. It might happen long after we're gone, but the steps we're taking now will make sure we have that happen. What do you think?
My comment on that is, as I get older, just the sense of and I'm older than you, a sense of urgency that I am, because there's a finite amount of time, right? I mean, but I get stuck in that a little bit. Like I want to, like I finally, it's finally more clear to me, as I try to say in the comments too, that like what I'm good at, and it's clear to other people what I'm good at. And I love that. I really love that space I'm in right now. But at the same time, there's just so much I want to do now. I mean, I guess that's a good problem. I don't know, but I just see so much more potential. And like you're saying about diversifying income, I think I mentioned on one of your other shows that I'm trying to get another credential and teach at the college I just went to, and maybe organizations. I just see so many other pathways. I don't even know where to start. That's where I get
We
hung up.
need to do that clarity session. We really should. But
Yeah,
let me say
I've
this.
been meaning to, but I swear.
But let me say this about what you said, because I think what resonated for me is this: that finite amount of time. We've talked about it, guys. There is no promise. This could be my last show right now. I know that sounds morbid, and I'm sorry if it just sounded doomy, but I could leave for work and something terrible could happen. I don't know. And so I can't live in the fear of, oh my gosh, I didn't get it all done now. I don't know what done looks like in my lifetime, but I know what I can't live having burning inside of me without acting on. I know I can't skip coffee chats. When I skip a Saturday morning on LinkedIn, I don't feel good about it. It doesn't feel right because I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. When I don't get to play outside, blow bubbles, watch the sunrise, take in fresh air, play in the rain, any of that, it doesn't feel right. I don't care if I'm 90, take me outside and let me stand in the rain and let it hit my face. It's going to be something that's always going to be there. But the other thing I know is when people retire and they stop having that burning desire to get up and do something, they dwindle faster. So what I'm excited to hear as a life coach and a mindset coach is the passion you have to want to do more. Most people are trying to slow down at this age. You're not even close to that. And I think that's going to elongate your life. I don't know how long you have. I can't make any promises. There is no refunds on this free advice. But I know the actions we take of being driven to get up and do something every day speak to ourselves. They speak to our core. There's scientific ripples that happen out here of understanding that being tied to those things elongates a life. It's just a fact. And when you don't have those things, your quality of life dwindles quickly. When you're not surrounded by community, when you're not giving back, when you're not engaged, when there's no conversation, when you're just kind of tucked away. And so I am so grateful you're inspired, because that means you have a lot to get done. And usually, if as a Christian, I'm thinking, if God put that fire on you, then he has a purpose for you. And if he has a purpose, he's going to use you until you fill it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Although I feel like I'm a spiritual person, but not a Christian. But I don't know. I mean,
And
I
that's
feel
just me
like I
speaking
do
for
feel
me,
like
but
I do feel like what you put out into the universe. Like I never was this person. Okay, I was never this person until I was, even when I went in to recovery years ago, I was like, oh, this isn't gonna work. This kind of God crap or whatever. But what I found out is like when I just take those suggestions and just act as if and do all these things, including praying and everything else, my life gets better. So what do I know? That's all I'm going to say. My life gets way better. So I
well,
can't really argue. And again, who am I? Who am I to say? I'm just one person. So I've had, I guess, personal spiritual experiences that I cannot explain. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to go down that road, but
no, I love it.
yeah,
And honestly,
I
guys, I'm going to put a bow on this by saying I have a very unique, and Christine, I'm going to mute you on this because I don't want you to be included in this conversation. I appreciate you joining the stage though, but because I'm about to dive in off the deep end, I'm just going to say this. As a person of faith, I am also a person of science. And I was raised in both feet. And actually, I was taught science before I was taught faith, unless we're talking Easter Sundays at grandma's house. And so for me, what I've realized is communication by humans can get sticky. Our understanding of history is only as good as the story told before us about what happened. And when I think about all of that being true, what I have come to believe is that the Big Bang and Let There Be Light could be the same story. And it could be told in a different way from a different perspective. I have often asked, if Adam and Eve were first on Earth, who was on Mars? What was their name? God is a vengeful one in Sodom and Gomorrah and all that jazz. So why wouldn't he do Mars and Jupiter the same if they weren't listening? Could it also just be we're all stardust? Yes. And who created the stardust? Was it always there? I don't know. I never got that far in college. But you know what's cool is if you're interested in learning, you can. If the knowledge, the desire, that eagerness to dive into this passionate conversation about life or science or faith or universe or whatever it is that moves us, that makes us burn from within. Maybe it's just not any of those things. Tell me what your belief system is if you have something different. I'm not here to impose my faith on you. I'm here to tell you this is my faith and my belief system. And I have a lot of questions. And since my faith tells me to use discernment, I feel like I can ask the question about science to my God in my brain, right? And so that being said, that's where my brain goes. That's where I think everything is up for a discussion. Everybody has an opportunity to share their perspective. It very well could be why we have so many variables about how this place, time, and space was created. But if I could take away this story with anything and close with a concept, it would be, when I grow up, I want to be a little bit of Lisa Frank, a little bit of Betty White, and a little bit of Google in a blender. I want to have all the questions. I want to deep dive into subjects like you can on Google and with AI and all of the things. I do want to do it with all the colors and the rainbow and all the glitter and the sparkle and everything that this 80s kid was marketed her whole life when she went to get her fresh box of crayons for school the next day. I also want to be known like Betty White as a pillar of multiple industries who cared about certain things so much that she made stuff happen. And when she left after 99 successful years, 100 years, we just wanted a little bit more of her, just a little bit more. And I hope that's the ripple I have. So if you're feeling any of that is already true, why don't you ring the bell so you don't miss it? So you can follow my journey, experience this Betty White-esque personality coming with her glitters and sparkles and fun and stuff. Make sure you're also following Felipe Cofino, my partner in crime, for Careers, Chaos, and Coaching, where we tackle topics like this, but we also take the audience recommendations and requests. And so make sure you're following there. Make sure you're putting in some requests for next week. And then, guys, I would love to know what you're going to use from the show. How are you going to track your data? What is that new thing you think you're going to implement because you listened today? Is there anything special that you're like, man, that one piece, it really hit me right in my spirit, right in my soul, right in my data? What is it that you're taking away? I would love to know that too, because I want to make sure that I'm using it when I'm talking about what happened in the show. I want to make sure that when I tell people, hey, this is what my listeners took from this, and I share it forward, that I'm being honest. If you hated a facet of the show, you can let me know, but be nice. People who aren't nice don't get to stay around these parts, because this is about a PBS style experience. I want everybody to be welcome here. Even the grumpy people can be welcome here and share their beliefs and have their little trash can on the corner. And that is so cool. I love Oscar the Grouch, but I also don't want him bringing his trash to my house. I want to visit him in his can when I want to experience his personality. And when he wants to be in my space, he can come to mine. And that's just, the beautiful part of a good Venn diagram. Overlap on the things you overlap on. But don't force it. Don't change other people. You can't make them be who you want them to be. And you can't even make yourself be who you want to be. You can change the behaviors you dislike that eventually will evolve you into a person you want to be. But you got to be kind. You got to be kind to yourself. You got to be honest with your assessments. You can't expect perfection. There is no perfect person in existence. That they just don't. It's not there. As a person of faith, I believe that. And as just every human I've ever met had a flaw. Me too. I have at least 5 I could rattle off right off the top of my head. That said, doesn't mean they're less valuable. Doesn't mean that what I do should stop just because you don't need it. And I think that's true with what you do. Just because somebody says, hey, that's not cool, we don't like that, go away, stop this is dumb, doesn't mean you have to listen. Determine what makes you move and get into it. Just keep diving in. If you need some help, you can reach out to me. I would love to help you plan. I would love to help you plot. If you have a business, you want to bring it to LinkedIn. If you want to learn how to bring yourself to LinkedIn and create a personal brand. If you want to grow at all, mindset, life, accountability, whatever you're trying to do, I'm a really good first step. And if I'm not the person for you, I will recommend somebody who is. But if you want to chat, let's do that. Otherwise, guys, come back next Saturday for Coffee Chats with Melissa. Meet us tomorrow, Sunday, for Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. And I hope you have a very safe and happy 4th of July if you can't make it to the shows. I am definitely looking forward to warmer times. This 56 degree weather is kicking my butt. But I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the show. Enjoy Social Saturday. That's coming up next too. Make sure you're following along. All of my friends, they do some really cool things. Thank you guys for coming. Take care.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light.